Welcome guys back to another video. Behind me is a 2.2 Skyactiv CX5. It came with a low oil pressure problem, so it is booked in to get the low oil pressure problem sorted, but there are other things what I can already see. So now let me switch the camera and let's have a look what I can see in the engine bay, and I'm going to connect the scan tool and show you that as well, what I can see on the scan tool. So let's have a closer look. I can see with my tiny eyes that someone has already been here. Don't know what was done to the car. I'm going to give a call to the owner later, like shortly. I can see that cover is removed for the ECU plugs or connectors. I'm not sure if that was removed because of timing chain has been replaced. I will be able to confirm it later. Also, I can see they used the zip tie method to secure this connector. It goes to that hole, or very likely they broke the rivet side of it. Also, I can see, I'm not sure if you can see it on video, try to not shake my hands, but the overflow reservoir of coolant is tilted, so the bottom of the coolant is still reservoir is tilted towards the engine. I'm not sure if you can see, but it's not sitting in properly. And also on the video it looks like it has a blue coolant. Let's have a look at it. Yeah, it looks like it doesn't have the proper coolant. It's I believe the blue one is used also in the screen wash, but I believe blue one is used in BMWs. So I'm going to let the owner know about it as well. What I can see again, they broke this plastic bit and they just, I don't know, used the tape and taped that wire. Don't know why why they done it. Also, there is missing one nut, because the nut should be there, and on top goes this beauty cover holder or whatever that thing is called. Also, I can see that the DPF sensor was removed because as you can see, the bolt is a different bolt. So the first one, the top one, is a size 10 bolt. I mean, the head size is a 10, and that looks like the other one, it looks like an 8, but it's stripped. As you can see, this temperature sensor is not connected the proper way, it goes from the other way. This one is still the old sensor. I will check the live data values, but very likely that would need a replacement, which I will recommend to the owner. And also I can see, if you can see on the injector fuel lines, these blue collars or whatever they are called, that means the lines were replaced. I'm not sure if that's a service kit or why they replaced those lines, but I believe when Mazda does the job, they replace the fuel lines. Again, I'm not sure why, but I can see that the valve cover has been removed, yet it has the oil pressure problem. So because anytime the car has the oil pressure problem, obviously the strainer is blocked, or very likely the strainer is blocked, and it gets blocked because of the washers are blowing out, and all that dirt, the carbon particles, gets washed down through the timing cover to the oil sump, and it blocks the strainer. But if the valve cover has been removed, I'm curious to see the condition underneath it. So I don't know if they cleaned it. I didn't open this engine yet. Obviously we'll see it on the video as well. So I'm going to open the valve cover, or remove the valve cover, going to remove the sump. And also it didn't have carbon cleaning, judging by that clamp facing towards the cabin. So, and also the owner asked me to just check it visually if it needs, so basically remove all that parts, which I'm going to do. But now let me jump inside the cabin and have a look at the live data values and the fault codes, if the car has any. So the car has very low mileage, 50,000 on the clock, being a 2013 model, which is very low. The owner just bought it like 2-3 months ago. We see it quite often that shortly after the purchase of the car, all the problems all of a sudden they come. It's not our first time we're seeing it. Also, funny thing I noticed, have a look at that gear shift knob or lever. It is the other way around, so basically that's supposed to be turned around. But anyways, let's have a look at the fault codes. So this is stored. This is a stored fault code, which is the P06DE. Now let me check the live data, what I can see from that. This is the first time I'm checking this car. The value of the vacuum pump looks okay, so the brake booster pressure sensor values are fine. If I press the brake, they climb back quite rapidly, so it looks okay to me. Let me further scroll down and check what I usually check. So the engine is quite cold at the moment. Let's try the oil pressure test, because even if it does it on cold engine, so the pressure will be low, then it means it will be low on the hot engine as well. So at 2000 RPM it has 160, 170, that's good. Yeah, the oil pressure when the engine is cold is okay, but it can be because of that, when as the oil is cold it is thicker, and once it gets warmer it becomes thinner, and hence the pressure cannot be maintained, so it loses the pressure. If you have a look at the exhaust pressure sensor values, the values are below 100, and if I rev, it looks okay to me. But so that sensor at this point, even the pipe, I don't think that is blocked. It looks okay to me. It's just slightly below the values. It will need replacement in the future, but maybe it's not the time at the moment. The DPF pressure sensor, so the differential pressure sensor, the numbers are a little bit high, but that can be because the car is close to a region. We will shortly confirm that. So let's have a look other things. The correction values of the injectors, you can see the number 1, it's quite high, but obviously I'm not worried about that at the moment, because I will remove the injectors anyways, and I'm going to retighten it to the correct torque specs, and once the numbers will be off spec, then I will be worried, or would be worried, but at this point I'm not. And also I would do the injector relearn as well. And now let's have a look at the dilution data. It's not too high. It looks like oil has been changed like 2100 kilometers ago, so around 1500 miles ago. We will check what the engine oil looks like. Also, you see the DPF, the particulate matter accumulation numbers. As I was quite right, that it's getting close to the DPF region, because the region is triggered when those numbers, I believe, reach 6.5 or 7. And let's have a look, when was the last region done? It was 50 kilometers ago. So I believe the car does the region quite often, because there is a carbon buildup inside the intake manifold and intake ports, and it like gets blocked earlier and gets triggered more often, and that's why it does the region more often. Now I'm going to get the engine up to temperature, and I'm going to check the oil pressure when it's up to temp, and report to you back, guys, like what I found. And after, I'm going to give a call to the owner, what I noticed, what I think is wrong with the car, and then what how we recommend getting those things fixed. Also, another thing worth mentioning, that you see that blue coolant light is still on. I recorded like a 4 or 5 minute clips, and that light is still on, meaning the engine is not, or the coolant is not over 40 degrees of Celsius, as you can see. And by this time that light should have gone, or should have turned off. In my opinion, that is because the camshaft will be found warm underneath the valve cover, and obviously when the engine is cold, the car or the ECU wants to get it up to temperature the sooner, so it's opening or redirecting the exhaust gases back to the engine and using those camshaft globes which wear all the time. And because they are worn, obviously the ECU cannot get the engine up to temperature that quickly as it wants. So if I rev it a little bit, that light will be gone in a shortly, because we have 39 degrees of coolant temperature. Yeah, so it's gone, and temperature just reached 40 degrees. I'm going to further raise it because I want to see the oil pressure at higher engine oil temps. Now we are at 72 degrees of engine oil temperature, and you can clearly see the number is getting lower and lower. I assume if I keep it running a little bit longer, when the engine oil temperature will be over 80 or 85 degrees of Celsius, that number may even decrease more. So now I'm going to go ahead and remove the valve cover and also the oil pan to see the situation inside the engine. I have removed the bottom body panel and the wheel, and I can clearly confirm that someone has been already here, which I already told you guys, because the sump was off as well. Let me switch the camera and show you what I can see and what is wrong with the car. So if you have a look, you can see, I'm not sure, yeah, now you can see on the video as well that the silicone is a black silicone, which is not a problem at all, but that means that the sump was off. That's one thing. It's not like a bad thing if the job would have done properly. However, if you can see here, the car has an oil leak, or the engine has an oil leak, and also I can show you that that vacuum canister for the turbo is not the original one, because it is black and the original one is like a silver in color. And also there is an oil leak on the vacuum lines and the switches and the connectors as well. And let me show you another things what I can see. So come from the side, and hopefully you will be able to see I cannot zoom there, but let me tell you what I see. So basically, where the small turbine housing is, or for turbo housing for the small turbocharger on the car, there goes the charge pipe. I can see that was removed, and they used silicone to seal it. There is a gasket. There is no need for silicone at all. So yeah, and there is an oil leak. I'm going to lower the car now and check if it is leaking from the valve cover, because it looks like it's coming from the top. I'm going to check that. Sorry, my storage got full, so I don't know where I was, but anyways, as I said, I'm going to lower the car and check where the oil leak is from before I start any job on the car, and then I'll give a call to the owner what I found, what else is wrong with the car except what he came for initially. So yeah, let me check that oil leak if I can see where it is coming from. I have removed the valve cover and have a look at it. It looks, to be honest, like fairly clean, and as I said, like it was removed already before me. I can clearly see the camshaft is like very worn, which like it's strange, like they didn't replace it if the valve cover was removed. And also another thing, guys, the timing chain is replaced, because that sprocket is not the OEM sprocket. So you see those circular holes in it. The OEM has like more like an elliptical holes in there, so that's not the original sprocket. So timing chain has been removed, and I also removed the oil pan. So now let me raise the car and show you what I found, and then tell you what's gonna happen next. Also, I just noticed, I'm not sure if you can see, but very likely yes, you see that shiny thing on the cylinder head. So basically that should be a sharp edge. I don't know what they've done it, or what they've done to it, but it looks ground a little bit. Again, it's very interesting. So here I am from underneath the car. I've cleaned the pump with a brake cleaner, and let's have a look at the strainer, guys. As you can see, it is pretty clean and clear of any debris. So they've replaced the strainer, and yet the car has low oil pressure. So now let me switch the camera and tell you what's gonna happen next. So now I'm going to remove the oil filter and cut it open and check for any metal shavings, because if the strainer is replaced and the top is clean as well, the car shouldn't have oil pressure problems. If it is still there, it can be the conrod bearings, but very unlikely, And before I check that, I need to check the filter first, so I can tell and explain it to the customer as well what is the situation, because if I remove the pump it would cost him more money, and if I remove the bearings it would cost him more money, but it may not even fix the problem firstly. So that's why I want to remove the oil filter first, cut it open and check for metal shavings, because that can be an indication of that the crankshaft is worn or scored on the main bearings, and hence it has the low oil pressure. And if you remember from the beginning of the video, I told that the car had the oil data or oil change data reset like 2,100 kilometers ago, which is around 1,500 miles ago roughly. And the customer said he has the car for like 2-3 months, which can add up exactly. So basically what they may have done, they tried to fix it, they drove it, they realized it's not fixed, and they just replaced the oil and then sold the car to the next owner. I believe a lot of money was spent on this car, because the timing chain is replaced, the straightener is replaced, the camshaft is not replaced, because very likely they didn't know that is worn. Like they didn't know what to look, like how to check for wear or what is a worn camshaft. So yeah, very likely a lot of money was already spent on the car, and yet it has still the oil pressure problem, and it is very low mileage for being a 2013 model. It has only 50,000 on the clock. So now I'm going to cut open the filter and show it to you as well, and then I'm going to contact the customer what's next, what the next steps should be. I have cut the filter open, and here is that paper retaining the filter, and there is no metal shaving in between. But let me show you something interesting, what not me but what Ben found. So we were basically standing here and having a conversation about the oil pressure, what can cause it, the low oil pressure, and so on and so forth, like how to solve it without, like, you know, spending a lot of money on the car of the customers' money. And then Ben asked me, like, why did I unscrew this bolt? And I told him it wasn't me. So basically the oil pressure can escape there, because it has like a line or an oil line where the oil is flowing underneath this cap. So the oil pressure can escape there. Again, I don't know yet if that is the solution to the problem, if that would fix the oil pressure problem. I can clearly see that the repairs weren't done properly on the car. Also can confirm even the manifold hasn't been very likely removed. The EGR has been removed because this bolt is a longer bolt. It's not the one which belongs here. Also, I'm not sure about the manifold now, because that bolt is not the one which belongs there. So this is a very tricky one, and to be honest, very shady mechanics must have been working on this car. Unfortunately, it's quite bodged together, as Dan would say. So now I may drop the pump, check maybe the two O-rings are missing from the oil pump, and also I may check, not may, but very likely will check the rod bearings as well, in what condition they are in. Guys, the more I look, the more wrong things I notice about this car. Let me show you another one. So basically you see them two dots on the sprocket. That should point to the middle of the chain. So basically here to the middle, and it is pointing where the two oval chain links touching. So on its own, it's not a problem, to be honest, because it doesn't mean the timing is not properly, or it's not the engine is not in time. However, because I've seen what they've done and what kind of job is done on this car, I'm going to remove the pulley, the crankshaft pulley, and to make sure that the timing is correct on this engine. I'll show you or tell you how I check that. However, what I've noticed, I'm not sure if that makes sense or you can see it, but let me try different lens. So basically this bolt is an 8mm bolt, but it's different than this. The head is different, if that makes sense, meaning they removed the oil pump obviously, but they opened it as well and they didn't put the proper bolt back in. Or I know one of the bolts are longer, maybe they didn't put it into the correct location, and also that bolt there, up there, is like, the head is a little bit stripped. What that means is basically they removed that bolt as well, which is not necessary. So very likely the garage or guys who've done the work on this car, they didn't really know what they were doing at that time. If you have a look, like all of the heads or heads of the bolts, they look like a tiny bit stripped. Yeah, so I'm going to remove the oil pump, and maybe I'm going to open it as well and check from inside if it is worn from inside or not. Maybe that can be the cause of the low oil pressure problem as well. So pulley is removed, and that pin or the Woodruff key should be pointing to 12 o'clock direction, and the first piston is at top dead center, and them two dots should be pointing down. So it seems that the timing is correct. But I'm going to check the camshafts, because there are 3 dots, two on one camshaft and 1 dot on the other camshaft, and they should align as well. I'm going to check just to make sure the timing is correct, and then I'm going to remove the oil pump. Take a look at here, guys. I have removed the pump, disassembled the pump from the balancer unit, and have a look at the strainer. That is flat and it is silicone on it. I got no idea at the moment if they just cleaned it somehow from inside as well. I may cut it open. But another thing I've noticed, that this is the balancer unit, and you see these gears. First I thought that maybe there is a damage in there or something got stuck, or I don't know, to be honest. But have a look at this one, the thickness of it, and have a look at another one which we have here, and it doesn't have that cut, as you can see. So again, I'm not sure if that's the same or not. Also, it had some kind of damage, because you see it clearly clearly is chipped off from it. So don't know what actually happened, and I'm not sure about this one, but it seems to be the original one. Again, this can cause oil pressure problems or maintaining the oil pressure. Also, guys, used silicone over here as well. I may actually open the pump and see what's inside. Here I have another one open, but I may open this one just to see the gears, if they are worn. Yeah, this car, the case of this car is very, very interesting. I have removed the caps, the crank caps or the journals or the conrod caps, number 2, number 3. From their side they look okay and like very new, brand new ish. And here, so first when I've checked it and I compared to the other one, like which we have here, these bearings looked a little bit thicker to me than the OEM ones. And let's have a look what I found. Yes, it's on the other side. I'm not sure if you can see, guys, but it's there. So it is ACL bearing .25. So these are not OEM bearings. What does that mean? The engine was seized, or it had some serious problems, because very likely they took out the crankshaft and they regrind it, and that's why they put then a thicker bearings, because when they took off material from the crankshaft, obviously you need to put a thicker bearing in order to maintain the oil pressure, the same oil pressure or the desired oil pressure. So this car or this engine, this particular one, will be very problematic and really difficult to find why it has the oil pressure problem, and it will be quite difficult to get it sorted. I'll need to discuss that with the owner, but these are not so good news, to be honest. I also checked the MOT history of the car, and as you can see, it was tested this year, June the 14th, but before it was tested 2 years ago. So basically the MOT ran out 23 October 5, and since then the car didn't have MOT only in this year, June. So I believe then that's the problem happened, because the reason I wanted to check, a car has quite low mileage, and at the last MOT it had 47,000 on the clock. Now it has 50,000, so basically that means 3,000 miles were done since the MOT. From the live data, I could see that the oil change was reset like around 1,500 miles ago. And also the owner told me that he bought it like 2-3 months ago, which I'm going to ask him again and confirm with him like what he knows, any history of the car he knows. But yeah, it looks like the problem started around like 2 years ago maybe, and I don't know how they fixed it, but unfortunately I'm not sure what's going to happen with this one, because I need to talk to the customer and tell everything to him what I noticed, and he needs to make a decision, which will be quite tough, to be honest.